Israel is backing 4 Palestinian militia groups to fight Hamas in Gaza, and Sky News has verified it.
There's no way Israelis care about whether or not a leader of a country that they're dealing with is legitimate. The only reason Israel's got peace deals with fucking any Arab country is because these countries are dictatorships, right? It's because these countries do so without the direct democratic consent of their people. There's no way that settlements contribute to a security situation. Why do you think Israel didn't do clear and hold, like Afghanistan style in Gaza? Because they knew that if you clear and hold, you produce more targets for the enemy. What do you think a settlement is? It's a target. It's so stupid. Hey, guys, stop watching your wives get fucking railed and watch the video for the text, please. Do your own job.
أولاً في مقولة أن أوسلو فيها تنازلات. اتفاق أوسلو فيه تنازلات. وكنت أسمع هذا حتى في الجلسات الرسمية عندنا. سواء مجلس وطني أو مجلس مركزي أو غيره. أنا أتحدى إذا في تنازل واحد، لكن ما حصلنا عليه هو أننا عدنا إلى أرض الوطن.
He's such an unk the way he talks.
وبدي أعطيك رقم مشان تستغربي قديش عاد إلى أرض الوطن مع عائلاتهم. منذ أوسلو إلى اليوم، إلى قبل أشهر لأنه وقفوها، 1,850,000 عادوا إلى أرض الوطن. قرأت خبر صغير كتبته صحيفة هآرتس، شو بقول؟ 50% من سكان إسرائيل من البلاد العربية. شو؟ 50% جاءوا من البلاد العربية؟ معقول؟ فعلا أنا يعني وقفت عند هذا الخبر وبديت أتابع المؤسسات الإسرائيليات. في عنا كم مؤسسات لأكتشف لا 70% من سكان إسرائيل
70% is too high, but okay, he's cooking.
سكان دولة إسرائيل من البلاد العربية. طبعا هذا أذهلني وأزعجني. اكتشفت إنه معظم اللي هاجروا لإسرائيل هجروا لإسرائيل.
طوردوا من بلدانهم. طوردوا من بلدانهم.
يعني هجروا، خلينا نقول هيك.
توصيفك لطيف.
I think his language there is pretty accurate. That they were forced to immigrate. Yeah. His face when she says he's being gentle.
يعني هجروا. خلينا نقول هيك.
توصيفك لطيف.
قرار.
Really, we're gonna get fucking grumpy at this guy for what he wrote about the Holocaust like fucking 800 years ago.
2 3 4 أنا أتمنى أولاً كل إنسان عربي يقرأ. هو قرار بمجلس الأمن بآخر أيام أوباما، وبده يجي محله ترامب. الأمريكان كأنه نزعة ضمير أو شيء، قالوا والله نحن أبو مازن يعني عمرنا ما قدمنا له شيء، فخلينا نعمل له شيء وإحنا طالعين. كان في موجود سوزان رايس، واحدة اسمها سوزان رايس.
As if he's changed his stance somehow. Listen, Saigon, you make peace with your enemies, not your friends, okay? You do not need Abbas or the Palestinians in general to agree with you on what the fuck happened in the Holocaust. You don't need them to not be Holocaust deniers to have peace deals. Like, you don't need that. You don't need them to be perfect. You don't need them to agree with you on anything, really. The only thing that Israelis and Palestinians need to agree on is what happens to the borders, what happens to the settlements, what happens to refugees, what happens to Jerusalem. That's it. That's all you need to agree on. You can literally have different opinions on what fucking color the sky is, and you probably will, as long as you want to be 2 separate countries. Otherwise, bro.
معروف.
فلقطت الفكرة واتصلوا فينا إنه إحنا بدنا نعمل لكم شيء، لأنه هذا القرار تم المفاوضات بيننا وبين البريطانيين بالنيابة عن طرف مجلس الأمن. وخلال 3 أسابيع أو 4 أسابيع على التليفون كله تمكنا أن نصدر هذا البيان أو هذا القرار. وهذا القرار أنا بسميه القرار الفلسطيني، لأنه عندما جاء التصويت الكل وافق
Well, you apply the same logic to everyone. Yeah, of course. Where do you think I would contradict myself on that claim? Where do you think I would contradict myself on that claim? Don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, okay? Why did we go on that tangent? Oh, it was because of this.
Us, basically, in our own existence. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So he may be moderate in your eyes, but in our eyes, as far as I see it, I would like to hear what Duran says. I don't see him as a moderate guy, as well as in the Palestinian population, but may Duran add as well to it.
I don't... You know,
I mean, moderate compared to Arafat.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. Look, I don't know if I really have that much to say about that, aside from how unpopular and illegitimate the PA seems on the surface of it. But I can talk about a poll that really recently came out of Gaza, interestingly, not in the West Bank, in which they preferred to be governed quite overwhelmingly by the PA. You know, that doesn't mean that me as an Israeli I would want the PA in Gaza. It could be quite risky, but I don't want to get into that. What I do want to get into is that, of course, Abu Mazen is quite old. He won't be around probably for much longer. Just this past couple of weeks, he
named a successor not long ago, didn't he? Abu Mazen names, because he's like 90. He's very old. He has got a temporary successor named, actually, just as of the last 24 hours, no? Hussein al-Sheikh. Temporary successor. Don't even know who he is. Let's go. Deputy chairman. Well, that makes sense. He would have an interim term of 90 days during which there would be elections. So is Abu Mazen hoping for the dissolution of Hamas in the West Bank before he dies? Interesting.
Have elected finally you know, it wasn't an election, but they appointed a vice president to the Palestinian Authority. And the guy that they chose, I can't recall his name, but he's a guy who's basically the one who's in charge of security coordination with Israel. So that might change the direction of where things are going, because you've basically put as your heir apparent, in a sense, a person whose entire life and job for the last many years was to coordinate security with Israel. And now when we have I think that this move was probably done somehow with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and you know, and the whole thing with the move with all of the states, the Arab states in the region. So that might change where things are going, but of course it's too early to tell. As far as I can tell, the PA is not seen as legitimate neither by the Palestinians or by the Israelis.
I will say, why do Israelis don't? There's no way Israelis care about whether or not a leader of a country that they're dealing with is legitimate, right? In terms of popularity. Israel makes peace, like the only reason Israel's got peace deals with fucking any Arab country is because these countries are dictatorships, right? It's because these countries do so without the direct democratic consent of their people. Otherwise, I mean, would they have got a peace deal with Jordan without a dictatorship, or with Egypt? Like, yeah, I don't think they don't give a fuck. Fuck. I think if Israelis or Israeli right-wingers at least if Israelis could vote for a Palestinian leader, it would probably be like a Hashemite, wouldn't it? That's probably what they would go for. Did they talk about settlements? Two-state solution. What have we got here?
That we want willingly to do, no matter what.
That's not what he said.
They're able to get a peace deal with wait. Jesus, whoops.
Thing with
they're able to get a peace deal with Lebanon, even though they're a democracy. Well, they don't have a peace deal with Lebanon right now, and it's obviously taken them a very long time. And democratic pressure is one of the big reasons for that, right? If Lebanon was a fucking Maronite dictatorship or a Maronite apartheid state or whatever the fuck, like, they probably would have been able to get peace with Israel much earlier than this, but yeah. Fuck!
For someone who's been
is cutting off any potential future growth, which I feel like Israel doesn't really want to do. So I feel like both sides have this like incentive to just fight forever And and I think it's a really bad incentive that is felt by the international community sometimes. Yeah.
So Destiny, I feel like there's not much ground to explore here because I think we broadly agree. I would just...
You agree on expanding on the settlers that we want willingly to do, no matter what?
That's not what he said.
So clarify, please, Stephen.
That the settlers said, what do you mean by that? Or
no, what you said about the settlers, that's what I meant. Because I
think that Israel enjoys the further expansion and more people moving into the West Bank. Like I think when Oslo 1 was done, I want to say there was like 100,000 settlers. And I think now you guys are up to like 700,000. And I feel like there's two different types of settlers. I feel like you have, this might be offensive, but I call them the fucking crazy people, which are like...
it's called in Hebrew.
Shiloh. They're the ones that like live out there.
What's your opinion on Iraqi democracy? Don't know enough about it to comment. The only thing I know about it from absorbing information from other people around me is just that it's presented one, I guess the challenge it presents is sectarianism, right? Because of the historically having quite an oppressive Sunni leader, but a Shia majority country. I don't know. Obviously, democracy is preferable to dictatorships, like always, pretty much. But how you get from here to there, blah 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 blah.
That are
like in a caravan on the top of the hill.
Maybe, yeah. And then you have like, I feel like the majority of the settlers in the West Bank or Judea and Samaria are like, it's like cheap housing and they're all near the Green Line, which I don't even think the Palestinians care about. Like if you were to renegotiate, you do land swaps or whatever, that the majority of them can be kind of like, fine, that land could go to Israel, just give us other concessions or whatever.
Yes,
but
yeah. Can I try to put some context into these broad terms, right?
Sure.
There's about, you're right, there's about 700,000, I think, at least. But almost all of them, like 80 to 90%, are in what you call the
Green Line.
Yeah. So you have like the Gush Etzion, Modi'in Elite, places like Ariel, places like East.
Ariel's not a good example because Ariel's like very deep in the, it's quite deep. It's a deep baby.
Jerusalem has like 200,000 Jews, and they're counted also as settlers, right, into that 700,000 figure. So if you're really looking into it, you see that there's about, 80 to 90% of the Jews living in Judea and Samaria, the 67 lines, are essentially living in what's called the large settlement blocks. And these blocks have never even been on the table. I mean, even if you go back to the Clinton parameters or the thing with Olmert and, all these deals, these places were never on the table. So I don't, this is not necessarily a blank defense of all settlements, right? Because there are settlements that are...
It's over 1 million with East Jerusalem. I thought it was 500,000, but then it becomes 700,000 with East Jerusalem. You sure there's 1 million settlers maybe in the last 2 years? 300,000 have gone in there, but I haven't checked since October 7th. So
are illegal, even according to Israel. But you have 80 to 90% of the people living in these huge population blocks who are very close to the green lines and that have actually not been Arab cities before. Let's just put it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's largely fair to say. But how dumb of Israel, knowing that it's this contested territory, to continue to have more and more and more people. Like the problem is it feels so much more intractable. And then the settlements that are deeper in, they do grow and the outposts do happen and these expand. I wish I remember the name. I think it was the name of the report is of a woman, but there was an investigation under the Sharon government. And I think Ariel Sharon was a huge proponent of we should just completely leave both of these places. When the withdrawal happened in 2005 from the Gaza Strip, there were a few settlements that were taken out of the West Bank, and I think he wanted everything out of the West Bank. But there was still...
He also barred settlers from ever going back to them, and then Netanyahu lifted that ban in 2023 before October 7th.
Expansion that was going on, and I think like your Bet Salems and people on the left like to blame Sharon, and they funded all these crazy outposts and settlers, but I think what the report ended up finding was, despite from the top,
it wasn't after, it was before, because I made a video about it before October 7th happened.
government forces and Sharon and people saying like, we're not doing this, like these people that were moving into these like deeper settlements were finding ways to funnel money from the government and to take money from other areas, and they were getting help from other people that were like, yeah, we're going to do this or whatever, but it wasn't like a government driven thing. So it feels like that problem is getting more and more intractable, and what's the off ramp, like, because it feels like both. Like on the Israeli side, I just don't see, it doesn't look like a good faith effort, right? The Palestinians will say, through Oslo 1 into the Second Intifada to now, well, look, the Jewish people, they're not a partner for peace. And I think Israelis can rightfully point back and it's like, Arafat never told you guys to stop blowing each other up and killing us. And, you guys aren't doing anything to make the situation even any better. And I think there's some validity there. But I mean, I think Israel has the capacity to force a peace on the region, but it's just, I view Israel as a relatively opportunistic country where if it sees that it can take more, it will keep kind of moving in that direction. That's the feeling I have, yeah. I feel like the West Bank is a great example of that, yeah.
Two points that I would like to bring up here. Mm-hmm. The first one is that you literally brought up of course, the counterexample of what happens when you evict settlements in 2005, right? You get essentially, when you leave an area, there is no real interest to keep the army there. And once you live with the army, then you get basically a hostile state right next to you That's
not true. You had the army around all of Gaza, despite the fact that there weren't that many settlers in Gaza. You had the army administrating Ramallah and these dense Palestinian areas before Oslo. You had those.
A la Gaza. But in addition, I would say that
there's no way that settlements contribute to a security situation. They make it worse because everyone knows this. They know this in Gaza. Why do you think Israel didn't do clear and hold like Afghanistan style in Gaza? Why do you think they didn't do that? Because they knew that if you clear and hold, you produce more targets for the enemy. What do you think a settlement is? It's a target. It's so stupid. Fuck.
The settlers, growing the settlements or anything like that, you would say it's opportunistic, or, it could be viewed as opportunistic, I agree. But really, it's just, it could also be viewed as natural growth with a relatively small fraction of insanos, let's say, right, that get a lot of bad press. And maybe justifiably. But, I wouldn't say that insisting on holding the settlements is if we look at the history of Israel's decisions, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a bad...
What happened there?
Security take. And when you also say that Israel, could enforce peace on the region, I don't think that's true, because you're assuming that if the Arab Palestinians were to get exactly everything that Israel and the West seems to think that they want, then there would be peace. But I contest that that's not true, because what the general consensus thinks that they want is not really what they want. Right. We've spoken.
That's not true. When you have citizens driving the roads, when you have settlements that know you are friendly next to your army gains a lot, you are not an army expert, bro. When you have settlers driving the roads, and you have settlements living there in fucking tents and shitty little caravans, then you need more soldiers in there to defend the settlements, not to defend Israel, to defend the things that you've put in the West Bank. What are you talking about? I don't know why having the army in the West Bank to defend a settler in fucking Yasser helps anyone in Tel Aviv or anything west of the Green Line, really. How?
About what the two-state solution means to most people and what it means to the Palestinians, right?
Sure.
And there's a reason.
Even the two-state solution, as given there, pulled unfavorably between both people. Like, technically, nobody wanted the two-state solution, even though everybody in the West gives it as like that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but in Israel, at least there was a point in which it was very popular, right? There were a few points until they literally blew up in our faces.
Literally. With the buses and all that, with the intifadas.
And also,
Yitzhar throws rocks at soldiers. Yeah, the fucking the difference between watching IDF soldiers interacting with a settler security guard in Yitzhar, they don't like each other. They have no fucking time for each other. Anyway, can't watch that forever. Too much. I want to see this What's happening in Gaza? What's happening with these? Oh yeah, the 4 militias. So we looked into 4 militias already, but there are 2 extra ones here that they've got. You missed the good part about Islamists. Fuck up.
Israel is backing 4 Palestinian militia groups to fight Hamas in Gaza, and Sky News has verified it. Here's what we know. This is one of the new groups. Sky News has obtained footage of them, which we've used to reveal their location for the first time. Their leader told Sky News that all 4 groups are part of a coordinated project to remove Hamas from power, regardless of the ceasefire. Under the terms of the ceasefire, Israel has withdrawn its troops to the area east of this yellow line. All 4 militias are operating within this area. And these are the men that lead them.
Abu Shabab, Astal. I don't know who the other 2 are, though.
One of these men, Hossam al-Astal, told Sky News that the 4 militias are part of a joint project to remove Hamas from power, a project he repeatedly called the New Gaza.
صحيح في اتفاق لانه بحكي لك احنا اليوم بشكل رسمي احنا مش ميليشيات زي ما هم بيحكوا او عصابات او مرتزقه. احنا اليوم بشكل رسمي احنا مشروعنا كلنا انا ابو شباب حلس المنسي كله احنا مشروعنا غزه الجديده وفي القريب العاجل بس تتم السيطره الكامله ان شاء الله على قطاع غزه حيكون طبعا اداره كامله لهذا المكان تحت كلنا حنكون تحت مسمى واحد.
Al-Astal's headquarters are situated on a military road that runs
Astal is ex-Fatah. Yeah, so yeah.
along the yellow line, less than 700 meters from the nearest IDF outpost.
Whoa.
انا قاعد ومرتاح لانه ما في عندنا سمع الجيش يعني ممكن طالعين دوريات شيء احنا ما لنا فيهم ولا هم لهم فينا. الحين في جيش بس احنا يعني في منطقه احنا خلاص متفق عليها من خلال المنسق انه هي خضراء ما في عندنا يعني.
Footage shared with Sky News shows members of the militia armed with Kalashnikov rifles. One of their vehicles appears to have Israeli writing on the side, which has been partially
scuffed. Why would you only take it off by half? That's so stupid. But I mean, these guys don't deny it, right? Astal doesn't deny getting supported by Israel.
Scratched out.
احنا بنشتريها منهم بنعرفهم وكثير اشترينا من سلاح حماس نفسه. هي بس السيارات اللي احنا بنجيبها من برا تسهيلات يعني في تسهيلات لحاجات يعني خلينا نقول لك الذخيره وحاجات زي هيك.
The group also receives weekly deliveries of everyday items needed to support civilians living at the camp. Items in short supply in the rest of Gaza.
This is a PA guy. No, this is not a PA guy. No. The 2 other groups, there's the Dogmush clan, and then there's one more that has since made peace with Hamas after they lost a bunch of guys in a gunfight. So right now you've got Dogmush, which is still, as far as I remember, they're still against Hamas. There was one that ended up making peace with Hamas. Then there's Astal, Abu Shabab, and was it Halas and Al-Mansi who are working with Israel.
حوالي تقريبا 30 عيلة. الأطفال صارت تعرف شو تفاح شو موز شو أكل شو شرب شو شيبسي. بالعكس في المنطقة الثانية في الخيام الأطفال عمره 5 سنوات 10 سنوات 15 سنة ما بيعرف غير التكية ويروح يجيب عدس يجيب معكرونة هاي الأكل بأكلوه.
He says these supplies come in via weekly deliveries. We can see the same truck in satellite imagery of the camp. The camp is strategically located along a highly fortified military road that leads directly to the Kerem Shalom border crossing.
احنا بنروح بنجيب الكرم ابو سالم وبنقدر نحمي نفسنا ان احنا يعني خلال.
So this is all happening in conjunction with you have the IDF in Gaza. You obviously got Hamas and all of their other 11 militia groups aligned with them. You've got these guys, Astal, Abu Shabab, Halas, and Al-Masri on the side of Israel. You've got Dogmush, which is kind of independent against Hamas. You've got, as far as we know anyway, you've got the Egyptians have sent personnel into Gaza to retrieve the bodies of Israeli hostages. There was a whole dispute where Israel has been until recently very adamant that Hamas knows where the bodies are, but they're just choosing not to hand them over. Hamas is saying that they need special equipment to get to them, equipment that Israel would never give them. So they've sent, so Egyptians are in there now. There are Egyptian troops walking around Gaza looking for Israeli hostage bodies. And at the same time, you've also got American drones flying over Gaza now. There have also in the past been UK drones doing similar operations, just like surveillance. But man, there's a lot of, the point being that there are a lot of wankers kicking around Gaza right now, a lot of groups. Really makes you wonder what kind of scenario could evolve out of that.
Further south, sitting along the same route from the border, is the base of Gaza's most influential anti-Hamas militia, led by Yasser Abu Shabab. A senior commander in the militia told Sky News that they have between 500 and 700 fighters, and that Israel was allowing them to smuggle in guns, cash, and vehicles. Sky News has also confirmed that 2 other militias, operating in the north of Gaza, are receiving supplies from Israel. This video, filmed by a member of Ashraf al-Mansi's militia, shows a car loaded with supplies driving towards their base. Sky News confirmed that this road leads from an Israeli base or from the Erez border crossing with Israel. A member of the Hamas militia, east of Gaza City, said that coordination with the IDF is done indirectly through the DCO, a body set up under the Oslo Peace Accords. The DCO is part of Israel's defense ministry, but it also includes officials from the Palestinian Authority, Palestine's internationally recognized government based in the West Bank. This fits with what we were told by Al-Astal, by an Israeli soldier and by a senior commander in Yasser Abu Shabab's militia, that coordination with the military is managed indirectly and that the Palestinian Authority plays a key role. 2 militia leaders, Rami Halas and Hossam Al-Astal, claim to be current or former employees of the Palestinian Authority's security services.
Oh, damn.
The Palestinian Authority did not respond to Sky's questions, but has previously denied having any relationship to these militias.
واضح لا يسمح لها أن تكون يعني بالاعتراف بأي شيء مباشر. بتعرف السلطة حتى في عندي من المجموعة تبعي يعني ناس هم موظفين في السلطة لغاية اليوم.
Multiple sources told Sky News that the militias are also receiving support from outside powers.
فاليوم في دول عربية كتير ودول أوروبية ودول أجنبية غربية.
Oh, really? I doubt they're gonna. I doubt they've announced this publicly, have they?
هي بتتعاون معنا بس بشكل يعني غير مباشر أو خلينا نقول لك سر شوية لغاية ما الأمور تستتب، ولكن كلهم بيدعموا فكرة عدم عودة حماس للحكم.
The IDF declined to comment on these findings. Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, and Kogat, the Israeli agency which manages the Israel-Gaza border, did not respond to our requests for comment.
Yes, Israel apparently also knows where 9 of the hostage bodies are out of 13 that are missing. Well, the thing I want to know, though, is do we know anything much about these guys ideologically? Because I know that there's like this trope, which is to write off Abu Shabab as basically fucking ISIS. And I think the reason people do that is because at one time he had, or like Abu Shabab people had connections to, I'm not sure about Abu Shabab, but I think it was Astal, maybe? One of these groups, or was it Dogmush? Might have been Dogmush. So these groups had something to do with Al-Qaeda at one point. There was like an Al-Qaeda spin-off thing going on. But as for the ISIS connection, obviously, like these guys are not behaving like Islamic State would. So I think whatever connections they had in the past or whatever links they have is kind of defunct. But yeah, I don't know what do they want? Why does no one ask them that? Where did the interviewer just be like, what do you want? What do you want? What's your view on the PA? What's your view on... Obviously, they don't like Hamas. We get that. What's your view on Israel? What's your view on a final settlement? What's your view on... Dude. Why don't we know these important questions? Mush had connections to Al-Qaeda in the past. Yeah, that's what I remember, yeah. Because weren't they connected to Al-Qaeda at the same time that they participated in the kidnapping of Gilad Shalit? Wasn't that why? Weren't they involved in kidnapping Gilad Shalit? Or was that Abu Shabab? This is from Israel. Construction of Gaza can begin immediately in areas still held by the IDF. It's Israeli officials saying that. That's crazy. Again, please, someone tell me why they couldn't start doing this like a year ago. I need to know. Reconstruction of the yellow line doesn't have to wait for a second phase. That's crazy, chat. Who could have thunk it? People speaking my language. Dude, I need to catalog all the amount of times I've been like years ahead of this conflict. Whatever. Let's not get too up ourselves though. The land is clear now and we can start building, said the official. We don't need to wait for phase 2 on our side. If there are people that are pro-Israel and won't be in any way a harm to Israel, why not bring them in? Why not let them build? Vance raised that approach last week. This is all still pretty early, but that's the basic idea, he said before leaving Israel. Take the areas where Hamas is not operating, start to rebuild very quickly, start to bring in the Gazans so they can live there, so they can have good jobs, and hopefully some security and comfort too. That's crazy. The hell, man. One day, Al-Shara used to be Al-Qaeda, but people still call him pro-Israel. It's fucking brain rot, man, these arguments. They're so dumb. So dumb. Ooh. Subscribe, you fucking assholes. I mean, sorry.